You think you know what cold feels like. You don't. You have a coat, a heater, a door that closes. Tonight, when the temperature drops, you press a button, and the warmth comes back. Now take all of it away. The button, the heat, the quiet certainty that morning brings the sun. Because 74,000 years ago the sky went dark, and it did not clear. Not for a night, not for a winter, for years. No sunrise worth the name, no warmth, no proof that any of it was ever coming back. This is the worst winter the human species has ever lived through, the one that almost ended us. And the most frightening part isn't how many died, it's how few of us were left to remember it. Most people think the worst cold our ancestors faced was the Ice Age. Slow, grinding, glaciers creeping south over tens of thousands of years. But the truth is stranger, and far more sudden. The worst winter didn't crawl in over millennia. It arrived in an afternoon. On the island of Sumatra, the ground splits open. A volcano called Toba erupts with more force than anything the planet has seen in 2 million years. Not a Mount St. Helens, not a Krakatoa. Over 10,000 times larger than Mount St. Helens. It throws out almost 2,800 cubic kilometers of rock and ash. Newer estimates say closer to 3,800. Enough to bury a whole country, meters deep. The hole it leaves behind is so wide it is now a lake you could lose a ship on. 100 kilometers long. We gave the scar a gentle name. We call it Lake Toba. For 2 weeks, the mountain does not stop. Ash and sulfur punch 30 kilometers into the sky, above the clouds, above the weather, into the dead still layer of the air where rain can never reach to wash it out. And there, it spreads. Over India, where the ash falls 6 meters deep. Over the oceans. Over the whole turning world. And then, everywhere, the sun begins to fade. Imagine waking, and the daylight is gray. The next day, grayer. Within weeks, the world is the color of ash, because it is buried in ash. Global temperatures fall by 3, maybe 3.5 degrees. That sounds small. It is not. It is enough to kill the growing season across half the Earth. A 2026 study from Arizona State University describes it without drama. Black skies, blocking most of the sunlight. A cooling that may have lasted up to 6 years. 6 years. 6 years of dead ground for people who did not farm, who ate only what the living world chose to hand them. The plants wither, the animals that eat the plants starve, the rain turns to acid and poisons the water you drink, and the people standing in that gray light have no word for volcano. No way to understand what has broken the sky. No reason to believe it will ever close again. So, picture one of them. A girl, maybe 9 years old, waking in the half-dark that now passes for morning. She doesn't really remember the sun anymore. To her, the world has always been the color of ash. She is cold in a way you have never been cold. A damp, bone-deep cold that the fire barely touches, that never fully lets go. And there are no birds. That's the thing she would notice, if she had ever known anything different. No bird song, no insects. Just the wind and the soft hiss of ash falling. The food is almost gone. The adults cut the last strips of dried meat smaller, and say nothing. She asks her mother when the sun is coming back, and her mother, who does not know, who has no word for the thing that broke the sky, says, soon. Because what else is there to say? In 1998, an anthropologist named Stanley Ambrose looks deep into human DNA and finds a scar, a single moment where our entire species shrinks to almost nothing, a few thousand people, maybe 3,000, maybe 10. Every human being alive, funneled down to a number you could seat inside a single sports stadium. That is how close it came. Stop here for a moment. If Ambrose is right, then every person you have ever loved comes from that band. Every face in every crowd, every stranger who has ever passed you on the street. You are not descended from the millions who lived before the winter. You are descended from the few dozen families who lived through it, and their fear is still in you. The way your body tenses when the temperature drops. The way the dark makes something old and animal in you go quiet and watchful. The urge to gather, to hoard, to pull the people you love in close when the light starts to leave. That wasn't taught to you. It was burned into your ancestors in the years the sun went out, and they handed it down all the way to you. And here, the story turns. Because for a long time, scientists only told the terrifying version. Toba nearly erased us. The end? Then they went digging. And the ground argued back. In southern India, at a site called Jwalapuram, the archaeologist Michael Petraglia finds stone tools buried under the Toba ash. Then he finds tools above it. And they are nearly the same. Whoever made them did not vanish. They sat through the worst winter in the history of our kind. And when it was over, they picked their tools back up and kept going. In a cave in South Africa called Pinnacle Point, others find microscopic shards of Toba's glass pressed into the floor, an invisible timestamp of the day the sky fell. The people in that cave do not flee. After the eruption, there are more of them, with better tools than before. In Ethiopia, a different group outlives the drought by inventing the bow and the arrow, chasing the shrinking rivers, fishing the last water holes before they turn to dust. Everywhere the evidence surfaces, it tells the same quiet story. People moved, they followed the coast and learned to crack open shellfish. They guarded their fire like the last warm thing on earth. They shrank their groups, shared everything, and waited the dark out. Some scientists now argue the winter was never as total as we feared, that far from the volcano, there were shelters. Pockets of green where life held on. The argument isn't settled, it may never be. But the bones and the tools all whisper the same impossible thing. The winter that was supposed to break us didn't. It forged us. The cold did not make us stronger. It did something colder than that. It kept the ones who could change fast enough to survive anything, and quietly erased everyone who couldn't. We are what was left, the children of the ones who refused to lie down in the dark. The sun did come back. The survivors never knew that it would, and they kept moving anyway. You carry every one of them now, in the part of you that still goes quiet and afraid and stubborn, the moment the light begins to leave.